back, everybody, to another episode of Gas is on the Right. No, he's got a chance to win the race.
Yeah. I think that might have been like one of the cleanest hits I've ever seen in a NASCAR fight.
Cindric! Yeah, the back. Oh! Oh! Into the wall hard goes Ryan Blaney.
And he finally came to a stop. And it was just dead silent.
I said this last week, and I'm going to keep reiterating it. Live with the decisions you make. Drive by the decisions you make. Don't change up your style, but also just don't be dumb.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gas is on the Right. We missed you guys last week, but we're back in the flow this week with the Nashville edition. That's what I saw on I think it was on Twitter that white women on their bachelor party are always like, oh, Nashville's not ready for us. But it looks like this weekend Nashville might not have been ready for NASCAR. What a weekend we had.
I was gonna
But-
say,
Oh,
do
yeah.
not
Before
look
we get too far into that, Alan, throw the social plugs up
like...
Oh, yeah, I gotcha.
and follow us. Make sure to follow us on our social medias with the TikTok and the Instagram, Gas is on the Right podcast, X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, at gas_right. And then on YouTube and all your podcast streaming platforms, we are Gas is on the Right podcast. All right, Emily, get us started.
Do we really think gas is on the right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially if
Well, I like
you're
how long
in
that took
the
y'all to
UK.
answer.
Even if you're in a different country, gas is still on the right.
Even if your seat is on the right, your gas is on the right.
So, oh my gosh. I feel like I always throw off my focus. So, as Daniel said, we are back and better than ever this week with Nashville, of course. But let's go ahead and do an honorable mention for New Hampshire, mostly because I have to, gloat a little bit
Mm.
with Mr. Christopher Bell winning New Hampshire, dominating that race as well.
Yeah, New Hampshire is his track and his jam. And even on wet weather tires, it is still his track and his jam. So kudos to NASCAR for trying that out for the first time too, with the short track package and the wet weathers. Seeing them run the last 80-ish laps or 40, something like that,
Somewhere in there.
was very interesting. Some really cool racing there between guys 5 wide at New Hampshire. 4th position is unheard of. So
Yeah, it looked like a dirt track with them at the wall and on the apron where they
Mhm.
haven't ran all day.
yeah,
And then there they go 5 wide. I mean, it put on an incredible race. I think NASCAR's got a little bit of stuff they need to clean up on the wet weather stuff because we've done it a good bit. Like we got to figure out the whole pit stop thing. At one point, a couple cars came down and took tires at one of the cautions, and they're like, "No, we didn't say you could change tires." And it's like, that's
It
kind
didn't
of
specify.
dumb.
yeah. And then they
don't
were
make
very
me come back
regimented
down.
on when they could or what they could do with tires, too. Like you said, you couldn't change them, but also they wouldn't let them towards the end of the race change back to slicks, even though the track was pretty dry in a lot of portions of it. For the most part, most of the grooves and the lanes were dried, other than near the apron. Like you saw them under caution going all the way down on the backstretch to the inside wall to try to find some water to cool the tires down.
On the backstretch, John Hunter Nemechek was running through the grass on purpose.
Yeah.
Not like normally. He normally is.
Yeah, so definitely some stuff to clean up, but it's good to see NASCAR now having that to now having the wet weathers and using them efficiently. So kudos to them. Kudos to them for holding out that race too, because it was over halfway. They could have called that race as it sat, but they
I thought we
decided
were
to
gonna have
run it.
another Charlotte, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the theme of NBC. They're 3 for 3 of rain delays during their races. That's what
Yeah.
the name of this podcast will be, RaiNBC. Because
Yeah.
That's
For
what it's just
sure.
been rain,
Rain.
and some more rain. And if Chicago plays out anything like last year,
Rain.
rain again.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked at the radar, but fingers crossed that it's pretty good because, man,
Yeah, I'm not
I'm
too thrilled if it's going to be rainy again. I'm actually going to see what the what it
Yeah.
may be
Let's see.
saying
What's
right
the
now.
weather looking like?
So, well, currently it's 67 degrees and partly cloudy. But yeah, rain is going to be a big factor. It seems like I wish they would come back to the Atlanta area because Lord knows that we need it down here. Other than these couple pop-up showers that we've had every couple of days, it has been miserable. So, like, man, I know Emily, you work in HVAC and everything, and I'm sure that y'all are like y'all are like
Busy.
linemen during hurricane season with the gold chains and everything right now.
I will say I am getting a little bit of a bonus because our HVAC actually did meet their sales goals last month. And not just that, but they blew them out of the water with how much we have been. It's been terrible.
That's beautiful to see. So,
It's
well,
beautiful, but I'm like, oh, I'm ready. Ready for rain. I've been like, I will go do a rain dance on my front porch right now.
so well, let's hope it doesn't rain in Chicago. I actually just pulled the weather to double check. There is a 10% overnight and a 10% around 6 p.m. Sunday as of right now, with a high of 81 degrees
Oh,
and cloudy.
yeah, what did you
So,
look at? Because I only see it as like Friday is a really high chance. It's about a
yeah.
60%.
So hopefully it stays clear, and it won't be RaiNBC week 4. But who knows? We shall
We
see.
can help.
Yeah, we can hope. But let's move on to some of the silly season stuff going on now as we,
Speaking of Christopher Bell again,
yeah, speaking of Bell again, spilling the beans was saying that a Chase will be joining JGR. And did anybody see
I feel like
Larson's
we all
post
knew
on Twitter?
which Chase. Yeah.
yeah, I did.
So Larson posted congratulations to Chase Elliott for joining JGR in 2025. But as we know, it is actually a Mr. Chase Briscoe going to JGR, formally announced by Christopher Bell as well. Which the press conference.
Actually, I was gonna say yes.
Go ahead.
They actually did y'all see their social media plugs with that?
I didn't see many of them, but I saw the one you sent me.
Yeah, there was one where Bell just walks in and he's like,
Yeah,
"So
well,
you remember that
Gabe was
thing?"
interviewing all the drivers, and like he looks at the dog and he's like, "Can you even drive?"
I didn't see that one. I saw the one where Bell walks in and he's like, "So, you know that thing you told me not to tell?" And then it just cuts to black. And they were still hyping it up really high. They were like, "Tomorrow at 1 p.m." And I was like, I feel like we already know.
We know. We know.
We know. I did make the joke to Alan. I was like, no one said it was Briscoe. I mean, it could be Elliot, but we knew.
Yeah, who knows? It could have been any Chase in the world. So, but yeah,
Then
so
Chase
Chase,
Purdy out of the Truck Series.
right. Wouldn't that have been a surprise?
Not on our
So,
radar.
no, not at all. But yeah, so that's like shakes up a little bit of the silly season as we talked about a couple weeks ago. Briscoe seemed to be the front runner for the Wood Brothers 21 car. So, what does
Who's
that
going to
do in
21
your
now?
mind on that, Daniel?
If I was the Wood Brothers, the way Josh Berry's been running, he qualified second this weekend. Because Justin Haley confirmed he's staying at the Wood Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go grab a hold of Josh Berry if I were them.
So
It
that would be a great
seems the
tag.
rumors that I see that is Ryan Preece is going to snag one of the SHR Xfinity rides.
And I would
So I
almost,
believe that it's either like a toss up between Gragson or Barry. That seems to be the two most viable options to me, unless
Mhm.
you're just going to keep. I mean, they could just keep Harrison Burton in there,
I was going to say, are we sure they're not going to keep him?
because I mean, front row might have Barry and Gragson locked up already. I mean, we don't know. You know what I
I
mean?
actually heard
Yeah.
rumors that Gragson may be going to RCR.
Where
Like
there's not
heavily,
a there's not an
if
extra
they buy
charter for
another,
them.
if they buy another charter, but I don't think they can.
They're all spoken for because SHR is keeping one now, or I guess it's
Oh
just
yeah,
Haas Factory
plus
is what they're going to be called now, but they're keeping one. So it's Trackhouse, Front Row, and 2311 have the three, unless Trackhouse fumbles the bag and doesn't get one, and they get
Right.
one from colleague or something.
So, well, I mean,
I
I'll
mean, I
say
have
this.
heard that if RCR is buying one, that Gragson is a front runner for it.
Well, yeah, that's what I've seen. It's either he's going to either RCR and RFK were kind of bidding against each other for that last one because both of them
Mhm.
wanted them.
Right. So, but yeah, with Haas,
I mean, they could just make AD retire and put Gregson in the 33 and just get rid of the 3 again.
But would they really?
It's business.
at the end of the day, it is, but I don't know how much business means for the most part. I mean, they did run off championship drivers and championship caliber drivers. So,
That's
but
true.
with that, just looking at
But
it
I
from
do feel
there,
like what I was gonna say, just RCR, is I feel like if Bush had not even a match to his skill level, but someone who was close to it, we'd be
Well,
a
I mean, I
difference
know
this
we
season with
we
him.
rag on Austin Dillon a lot, but I think it's easy to forget that he is a Truck Series champion and an Xfinity Series champion.
he's also 32nd in points.
Well, I mean, look at their equipment. Kyle Busch is Kyle Busch, and Kyle Busch is outperforming the equipment, and that's why you see him getting in trouble so much, is because he's pushing it so hard.
He was
overdoing
doing
it.
really good until he got Larsened this past week.
Yep.
We're not even to this past week.
But yeah, I mean,
Let's see. Austin Dillon, given he did get caught up in a wreck this past week, finished 32nd.
if you look at qualifying though, it looked like they accidentally gave him Kyle Busch's car because Kyle Busch was dead last all day until some pit strategy at the end put him in the front.
Yeah. But he showed he had a car that could run up there a little bit too. Until
Yeah, he didn't have a car that could win, but he had a car that could be up there in the front,
yeah, and get a good points
Yeah.
day. So, but with silly season, I'm gonna say Cole Custer goes to Haas Factory, comes back up from Xfinity. The writing's
Yeah.
almost on the wall there as
Yeah, with his dad running
the
it.
connections. Yeah. The
Yeah.
connections are there, and he has the ability and the clout currently to be able to do so. Oh, that is the wrong button. Oh. So I would say that is probably the route that's going to go. The 21, I'm on the fence on it, but I mean, the only thing that sucks about that is if I was Wood Brothers and going to sign Josh Berry, if I wanted to retain the people in the house, I would sign Noah Gragson. If I wanted to have the chance to win races, I would sign Josh Berry and every single member that works on that 4 car.
Well, Rodney Childress already said that him and Barry are a package deal. Wherever he goes, I'm going with him. So if you want me, you got to bring him, basically.
And vice versa.
Rodney Childers is almost or he is probably more
He's
worth
one of the
more
most
currently.
valuable crew chiefs in the garage.
Then I was about to say than Barry. He's worth more his stock alone, which is great for Barry because Barry does have the skill and he's shown that he has the skill when he has the equipment.
Yep.
So
Which if you look at SHR's performance ever since they announced that they're shutting down, it's improved really across the board. Even with Priest got a top 5 this week.
Yeah, isn't it odd? Do you think it's?
I think it's just lets everybody go out with a bang. We've been the laughing stock of the garage here recently. This is our last year to show that we're made of something. Let's go out there and kick ass this year,
Yeah. Like they're very, every
determined.
week is an audition for these guys now. Not just the drivers, but the crew chiefs, the car engineers, the pit crews,
guys.
the guys behind behind the scenes, I mean, it is all an audition to see if you have a job next year. So, which I mean, the other thing is you gotta remember they were a tier one sponsor team. They are not too far removed from a double digit win total for the season as a team across the charters. And there's
Yeah, it
a
was
lot of
2020.
talented people that work at RCR or at Stewart Haas that are still there. So there's a lot of money and a lot of value in the people, but it's just it's some of the guys are fighting to get the bigger contract. Other guys are fighting just to make sure that they have a job come next year, come November, 6th, 7th, after the season ends. So, um, it's really cool to see though, because you're starting to see, um, it seems like they're trying new things and trying different setups, kind of testing the limits a little bit more, because there's a reason that the cars went from performing as the best car was 20th to now the best car is running top 10 every day, every week.
Well, I mean, Fords in
Right.
general have found something, and I'm sure that's shared data across the board,
Right.
because
Well, I mean,
I
I
mean, you
doubt
got to
they're
look
getting
at
much. So, because it's not even guaranteed that Haas is going to be running for Ford this next year. Haas factory, they don't have. There's no manufacturer in place
manufacturing
yet.
tied to it.
So there's a chance that they're not even getting that information. So there's a good chance this is all just these brilliant minds working and doing to create something almost kind of magical in a sense, to be able to start running like this. And I mean, to be possibly chasing a win in playoff spots.
Yeah, have that Cinderella season ending to it,
Right. Jeff Gordon 2016.
Yeah, which I hope that for Truex,
Oh,
But
yeah.
well,
But
moving on,
To
silly season.
another chase.
some bad news.
Alan's gonna be very sad.
Not terribly, but go ahead with it. Tell me the bad news.
I was just talking about the fact that you always get food from this place.
Oh, yeah, that is going to suck. It's a great place to DoorDash from.
Are they closing the Douglasville location?
I don't know.
No, but the
That's a good
the
question.
Chase Elliott chicken wings is probably non-existent anymore.
I was
It
gonna
only
say
finishes in the
that was
top
like
10 or whatever.
that's like Alan's #1 restaurant on his DoorDash.
Yeah,
It's just one of those sit down and eat places for me. I
I bet
goes
it
wrong
is.
to
I bet it
DoorDash
is.
that.
Me and Alan DoorDash way too much.
That's a fine eating establishment right there.
Yeah, you
Anyways.
search.
All right, so Elliot loses his Hooters sponsorship because Hooters was unable to fill contract obligations, and they're also closing over 40 locations.
It's a sad time. I guess no one likes
I
pubs
actually
anymore.
want to know what Hooters.
They are so
But
they.
at least they're able to go out with a win.
Yeah, at Texas. So, and then the Kawicki salute from Elliott. Very very going out on a high note. That is a kind of a Cinderella story a little bit. But
Well, what's crazy is like, how does Hooters not have enough money? But how many times has freaking Long John Silver sponsored a Fort Worth car this year?
I've never known anyone who's like, let's go to Long John Silver's.
Like, I haven't seen a Long John Silver since 2008, and now all of a sudden,
on the road from my house.
And now all of a sudden they're sponsoring race cars. And like, where are they?
Taco Bell. I have a
Like,
half
they're in
Taco
Taco
Bell, a
Bells,
half
yeah.
Long John Silver's down the road.
Yeah, but exactly, it's half a Taco Bell. Like, I ain't seen a
Yeah.
Long John Silver's in God knows how long, and now all of a
They're
sudden they're
closing the
sponsoring race
Hooters in
cars.
Hiram. Out of
But-
all the ones that they could have closed, they're closing only 5 in Georgia, and one of them is from my hometown.
Yeah, Hiram's actually closed already. It is permanently closed. Yeah. With that, so Hooters, I
amazing.
think they are on the verge of Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. I'm not sure the ins and outs of it, but basically probably some mishandling of money, poor marketing strategies, so on and so forth. It's normally how the game goes with a lot of these companies is they just don't spend it right, Look at Yellow Freight. Look at Blockbuster, look at Toys R Us. You know, there's a really
GameStop.
great channel if you ever want to look into it, and it's Bright Sun Films on YouTube
I was
that
about to
does
plug them
bankruptcy,
too.
and it's phenomenal. Like, he goes into so much detail of how the CEOs and everything, or how the money was mismanaged, the marketing. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see one out on Hooters shortly, due to their
Gonna
closing.
say,
But I would presume
and
it's one of
he
those
gets them out
probably
pretty fast.
facilities. One of those options. But yeah, Hooters is gone from NASCAR yet again. They have disappeared. And my question is, Hooters ran. They had one more sponsorship obligation, and that was Fall Richmond. So first off, we'll see if they're actually on the car. Second
I
off,
doubt it
who's going to
because they
replace
removed all
that?
the stickers from the cars.
Well, who's going to replace that multi-million
Oh,
dollar hole now?
Well, I mean, Valvoline just signed a huge extension with Hendrick Motorsports as
And
a
that is
whole.
a primary that we have not seen on a Elliott car, I think, ever, actually.
Now he's ran a Valvoline scheme.
I don't think he's ran a Valvoline car. Emily, fact check.
that's what I'm about to do. I was already on it.
I think he
So
did when he was in the 24 car.
that makes
But
sense. But I'm
yeah,
talking like
they
recent.
could
Um,
probably. I could see Coca-Cola, Napa would probably just pick it up. You know,
I mean, he did. I mean,
Yeah.
technically, his Napa was a Valvoline. That's what comes up. I don't think he's ever had a primary
I wonder
for
if that goes
Valvoline.
as like a B2B sponsorship with Napa.
Yeah, I mean, it may,
they just kind of
but
float and plug holes where it needs to be plugged. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see.
but
Be
like,
interesting.
Maybe
yeah,
this is the opportunity for us. How many millions of dollars do you have, Alan?
not enough.
I got 2 pennies I can rub together.
I have a dime.
So,
All
but
right,
it's
let's
interesting.
dive into Nashville.
We'll see how that goes. So, yes, I agree. Let's get into Nashville.
Nashville. All right, so you have Bell starting off really strong for a second week in a row, winning both stage 1 and 2, but he backed his car into the wall in stage 3.
That happens.
Happens to the best of us, you know. You just
It happens when you're running up there with the big dogs. You know, get a little air off you. You just go round and round, send you flying. No, I think that's one of the first times he was really in traffic throughout the day, and the car just did not like the dirty air, and he got air off of him, and it's one of those we saw. I think 3 to 4 of those same wrecks that 2 years ago took drivers
we saw
out
plenty.
of contention, like physically with concussions between Bowman and Kurt Busch. So seeing, I will say the good thing that we saw here is we saw probably 4 guys backing into the wall like that, and all of them walked away. There's nothing coming on Monday with that there's a issue or anything like that. So that's good to see on the safety side of things, but it definitely sucks for the guys that snap loose. So, because I think what you had Bell, Barry backed it in. Who else backed it in? I know that Chastain technically backed it in, but it's not his fault. It wasn't on him, but he did
he
back
still
it in.
backed it
We're
in.
not talking about Chastain right now. I'm still extremely emotional over this.
So, but yeah, again, a good day. He took over the total, the stage win total for the season thus far, with now having 8 stage
I think that
wins
puts
to
him in
Kyle, or him and Kyle are tied at
that
8.
put him in the lead for the playoff points.
Let's see here.
Actually, I have to look that up.
Playoff points, no, he's in second. Well, no, he's actually isn't first. He's got 24 to 23. So he's got 1 more point over Kyle Larson currently, with plus 24 on the playoff point side, building that cushion. So,
well, the kicker for him is Kyle Larson gets 15 if the season ended right now.
Yeah, but it goes down from there too. So he would get
I think it goes
kickback.
15, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, doesn't it? Like only the top 10.
Yeah, So top 10
15,
or top
10.
5, I think. Get points on it.
Yeah.
But
Alrighty.
yeah, it's he's putting together, he's really hot this summer. Starting out with the rain shortened Coke 373.5 crap. Um Followed up by winning at New Hampshire and then dominating Nashville this week, getting two stage wins, getting those stage points, as well
They
as
did one at Phoenix as well.
the win at Phoenix. Yeah, so he's got 3 wins in the bank
Yes.
currently, and he's just hot. He's on a streak right now. If they can finish out the race, he would be. I mean, he's looking as one of the front runners and actually finally up there performing with the Larsons and the Hamlins currently, and the Elliots, I
Mm-hmm.
would say as well. Um, so kudos to him, even though he did end up backing it into the wall. But from there,
We
the
all make
race was great.
mistakes.
The race was great, but it really got shaken up with 80 to go. So Emily, take us into 80 to go.
That started stressing me out. This is when my anxiety started kicking in, and I went and sat in my little hammock chair.
Do tell.
So, yeah, so with 80 to go, you had a Chase Elliott induced caution, which then just led to the field having to decide what was most important: track position, fuel, or tires.
Yeah, put them right on the cusp of their fuel window.
Everyone. And we'll get to actual fuel windows when we start talking about all the overtimes we had to go into.
Yes, that's where
That
it
got
starts getting
really
real
interesting
interesting.
really fast.
So, yeah, so the field has to make a decision at that point. So after that, let's see, we have the laps closing down. So it was, I think, 20 to go. They came over the broadcast and said that Hamlin will make it to Chastain at 5 to go and have a chance
And
for the
he made
pass.
it with like 12 to go, I
Yeah,
think it
and
was. If not
Hamlin
sooner.
Hamlin was showing that he is clutch to an extent, and he is showing a Hamlin that I don't think we've seen in past seasons, where he talks like, "Oh, I'm going to win this year. I could win it all." Like when he says he's all in, I truly believe it. I mean, he ran qualifying laps for what 8, 9, 10 laps or more to catch Chastain, and then
But yeah,
didn't even
he
have to
hawked
put the
him
pressure
down.
onto him. I mean, he chased him down a what 2/10 at a time, and then he gets to him, and he can't make the
Yeah,
pass on
they
the first
said
time.
that he was going to catch him at lap 5, and by lap 5 he was like half a second ahead of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but when he got to him, he put pressure on him, and there was some side by side racing, but it eventually turned out that Chastain made a mistake.
Outsmarted him.
Yeah. And Chastain got loose going, I think, into one, with I think just under 10 to go. And there went Larson took off, and there was nothing that Chastain could do but just sit back and watch that FedEx car drive off. And
Mm-hmm.
you come down to 2 to go, and you got Cindric and Gregson playing grab ass at the back of the pack, and Cindric goes
I
around.
remember this was like the mysterious caution where Alan and I were sitting there. We were like, why'd they throw the caution?
Yeah,
Where's the caution?
you see the caution icon flash on the screen, but you don't know what happened because they're showing Hamlin
They're
entering
too
like turn
focused
3
on Hamlin
with 2
and
to go.
Chastain at this point.
Come into the
Yeah. So at that point, then the question becomes who's got the fuel? And that's all the talk throughout the caution is who's got the fuel, who can save the fuel. And it looked like everybody was pretty good. So let's start with overtime restart number 1.
My
Emily,
heart is
do you
breaking.
have the heart to tell this story?
I'll tell it.
Go ahead, Daniel. Take it away.
Overtime restart number 1. Kyle Larson overdrives turn 1, clipping the apron, washing up the track, and taking out Ross Chastain, ending
And there went
his top
my
5 day.
ending my almost 2-week sweep.
Yep. During that
Almost 2
wreck,
weeks sweep.
you have Chastain backs into the wall, and then, you know, I guess the JGRs just decided to finish him off. The JGR cars with Ty Gibbs absolutely plowing into his front driver's side wheel and just absolutely destroying the car. On top of this is one of the 3 wrecks that I think Busch was caught up in during the 3 overtime restarts. So
Yeah, they gave him
Busch
his
gets
Well, the
caught.
3
spot back after
overtime
this one.
restarts he participated in. There's the
Yeah,
key in that, right?
yes. So there is a little bit of like they gave him his spot back, but he was behind Chastain on the wall. So it's kind of
I
there's
think
some
it was one of those
iffiness
he
about
had
that.
nowhere to go. I think NASCAR felt bad for him because it could be raining boobies outside and he'd get hit in the face with a set of nuts right now, you know?
Poor Busch.
So they felt bad for him and gave him his spot back. And then on the overtime restart
Irvin
number
Burns
2,
going the other way.
the back of the field, including Corey Heim, Dustin Haley, Harrison Burton, Ricky Stenhouse, Josh Berry, and Todd Gilliland all bring out the caution with a pileup.
Yeah.
And that puts most of the people in the top 10 in an even worse predicament.
Spot for fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like,
So,
and at this point, everybody says, F it. We're going to keep going until we run out of fuel.
You're like 106 laps to 110 laps from your last fuel cycle for the top 7. They are running on fumes at this point. So then you go into overtime restart number 3.
And then this is where Larson ran out of fuel at the restart, causing
in
Busch,
front of everybody.
Yes,
I know.
he's starting on the outside in spot number 2. And
yeah, so
it's just over at that point.
Causing Busch to spin on the front stretch and break the front suspension. And honestly, it was kind of funny to watch because you see him trying to push Larson and then Larson just stops and everything
and it's just an absolute
it's
cluster
just like
at that
melee
point.
Behind him.
So if you ever watched Mythbusters and saw like the traffic test where one hurt person hits the brake in the circle and everybody else does, that's just what it was. And so Kyle Busch spins another race with a Kyle Busch spin and ends up being wrecked out of the race. So then, after another couple laps, we go into overtime restart number 4. Now, this time, somebody does run out of gas, but they figure out how to get the hell out of the way, with Chase Elliott running out of fuel at the restart, but getting down to the apron for the field to pass with no caution. Now, we think we're all good, right? No, you're wrong. So the leaders come out of turn 4 and can see the white flag, and then Josh Berry backs it into the wall, causing yet another caution. Time to re-rack the pack and send them back out the 5th time. And the final time. This was an absolute hour-long thing. The worst part about this is if you have young children, bedtime's normally about 8 o'clock, right? Yeah. We told them, hey, we'll come give you hugs and kisses in a minute, thinking this race would be over. Yeah, we went in there during the 3rd overtime caution.
With just the storylines of who's got gas, who doesn't, and just the anxiety. This was overtime in a college football game. I was like, I can't sit down right now. I was standing on the back of the couch
yeah.
What's going to happen?
Literally standing
What's going to happen?
The bed.
And it didn't
was
even
one of those small kids who put their face right up against the screen because I was like, I can't miss a thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't those. It wasn't. I didn't feel like this was Coda, to where it was just kind of a shit show. This seemed a little bit tamer, just because the majority of these wrecks were just because people were running out of gas. It wasn't people just bulldozing over people. It's because people were running out of gas, and that's what was causing these wrecks.
Right.
So it didn't seem as much of a crapshoot as Coda 2 years ago did
when they're dive bombing one. So this is
right.
While it's a crapshoot, it's pretty
and the
entertaining.
Fact that this was 5 overtimes.
It was a fun crapshoot.
Yeah, I was entertained. I don't have anything to complain about with it. I mean, it was
To be honest.
I mean, everything just laid out perfectly with Chase Elliott's caution on lap number 80 spinning out and putting everybody on the cusp of that fuel window to where it was going to be tight, whether they made it or not already.
Well,
And then,
fuel, tires, and like, do you take the time to go ahead and get 4 tires and a full tank? Do you take 2 and get enough to get you there? Do you take no tires and fuel only? Like, what option do you take at this
What's
point?
most
And
in here?
that was the most intriguing thing is the strategy got to play out in a spectacular fashion. So now if I was at that track and it's 89 degrees out and dark, I'm probably a little pissed off, but having a good time. If I'm ready to
oh
go
no,
home.
there's no way I'd been mad. I would have been so entertained at that point. I've been like,
I think after the race delay, after the rain delay, it wouldn't have mattered, especially if you were up there with friends, because they have there's a antidepressant that they sell at the track. So you keep that in mind. But we go into overtime restart number 5.
Fifth and final one.
Who wants it?
So everyone gets through clean, and Logano retains the lead. Reddick did make a late charge for the win, but he fell short and got third place. And then Logano's car hardly makes it across the finish line, and I think did like half a burnout, and then he was done.
it's just funny hearing Reddick fall short because he's like really short.
He's like 5'3",
But
5'4".
but speaking of Reddick,
They need to bully short people.
who pissed in his Cheerios at the end of the race? I'm like, why are
Oh
you,
my
dude?
gosh!
I was like, why are
That's
you
what I said.
sad,
He
man?
was so
Look,
upset.
I was
I'm
like,
gonna
it's
put it to
okay,
you
dude.
this way. Like,
I was like, you
they
should be
said,
happy. You didn't have a race-winning car all day.
yeah, you didn't have a top 10 car. They wanted a top 5 car is what they were wanting. And they
And they got
barely
top
had a top
3.
20 car. And he got third place on a late charge after he had to pit at the 2 to go.
And
When they called
and
that
he took
first caution, the
tires.
first overtime, he took tires and fuel because he had to pit because his car was so bad. And the fact
Yeah.
that you came from basically the back of the pack after having what would have been a 20th or worse day to finish third, dude, come on.
I think the only credit I can give him is he may have been because Zane Smith did get second, and Zane Smith has not been doing great this season.
Well, I mean,
Especially if you
Joey
compare him to like
Logano,
Reddick. Reddick's
Right.
been doing pretty good this season. So
Logano ran out of gas on Tyler Reddick's bumper and slowed him down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that is true.
Reddick basically
So-
kind of pushed Logano across the
And that
finish line
may
right there
and
at
that
the
may
end.
be why he's upset.
From second to third after getting hardly any stage points, I don't know. He might have just been having a bad day.
Yeah.
And he
But he
was
was-
taking
think
one
he-
down, and
Extremely upset in that
I think that he
post-race
thought
he just
he
interview.
needed
should
to
have
sing a
chased
sad
down
song just to turn it
Logano.
around.
So I will say the only cars that I would say that are probably deserving of the finishes that they got would be the 17,
Logano.
the 12, the 5.
Oh yeah, I
And
bet
the
you think the
11.
17 got a good finish and he deserved it, huh?
Oh yeah. But with
Nowhere
that,
to be found all day.
I have something for you here. So
Alan
the
was
yellow came out
sitting
with 2
there
to go.
during every
Logano was 14th with 2 to go. Smith was 24th with 2 to go. Priest was 25th with 2 to go. And Blaney was 32nd and a lap down with 2 to go. And they finished first, second, fourth, and sixth. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Emily. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're totally fine. I was
Oh, wait,
wondering when you were gonna bring up Busher.
Oh, I gotta bring him up.
yeah, it was only a matter of time. He hadn't won in 6 weeks, and he finally does.
So
Hey, he got
Alan
stage
was
points
like
in stage
sitting
2.
there at every
Stage
single
points in stage 2.
overtime restart, and he was like, "Everyone above him has no gas. He could actually win this thing.
There's a
He has
chance.
gas."
There's a chance.
That's what I don't know. I don't know what happened to William Byron because he was in front of Busher, and then they went and pitted on that last pit stop, and you never saw him again.
You know, I really don't want to hear much because I went from second to 33rd.
Well, he ran into the
Sucks to
rear of
suck.
Ty
Like
Gibbs
that.
too, and like destroyed his front end during that
Yeah,
Chastain wreck.
I get that part. But before that, like after that lap 80, 80 laps to go caution where he pitted. He
Mhm.
ended up coming out like 30 something. And by
Yeah,
the time that
that's
lap
crazy.
2, by the time there was that 2 to go caution, he was like 29th. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, where are we at? We're
I
not
was
in
like, how did
But
this
Kansas
yeah,
happen?
anymore.
You were in the
he
top 10. He was in the top 10 all day, and
Did he
then
get a
boom,
silver bullet
gone.
in his air cooler again?
I,
Talk
I
about
will
a
be
burnt
honest, I
pit,
was
buddy.
more worried about you when I was in second than I was like Alan. And then
exactly.
Byron just dropped away and I was like, oh, okay, bye.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you on that. I think he just dropped like a rock. Like so fast that I didn't even notice he dropped until I was looking at the lineup on the screen. I was like, "Where is he?"
He finished 19th.
With a torn up race car too. On top of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Way
So,
better than 33rd.
but
we
well,
all know that. But at
with
least my
finishes,
guy had a chance.
had a chance. Keyword. I got the point. I'll take the win. I'm in last. I needed it. Thank you. What? Um, we'll talk
You're
about that in a
still
minute.
4 points off the leader.
Hey,
You're
that's
still
2
2
race
points off
wins.
the leader.
That's
Hey,
2 race wins.
closer than Alan. My divine plan was win with Bell last week, win this week. I wouldn't have complained if I didn't get the extra point, and then win in Chicago, and I would have been right up with you. My
Hey,
plan almost fell into place in a week ahead of time.
I was like, if
look.
she picks the actual race winner back to back, and she didn't really pick it because she wasn't sold on Bell at New Hampshire, and she wasn't sold on Chastain this week, and we coaxed her into picking both of those picks.
Alan pushed me
And
into
then,
picking Chastain, I will say that.
and then I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I was like, she's gonna win 2 weeks in a row off picks that we gave her.
The thing is like it's not like we could have picked him anyway, so benefit of the doubt there. But man, just I'll tell you what, Nashville has not disappointed the past 2 years. And I really would love to see it get a playoff date.
I'm gonna be honest, the race was kind of mediocre to me.
So I don't think it was. I mean, there was
I feel like
multiple.
what made it entertaining and really
Was
what
the
like
overtimes.
yep,
The
I
And
was gonna say
last
what the
when
time
that
on
when
100
top
that
was
the
plus
last
laps.
the last like 100 something laps when there was the whole strategy aspect of it, but before
Mhm.
that it wasn't really a
I'll
barn
give
burner.
that to you.
What's the I'm gonna Google the Gluck poll, see what that's
Do we
looking
want to
like.
go over the top 10 real quick?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead and
you do
go.
that while I'm doing this.
All right, so race winner is Logano with Zane Smith taking second place, Tyler Reddick taking third. Poor sad boy. We do have Ryan Priest taking fourth, Allen / Busher in fifth, Ryan Blaney in
Raised
sixth,
our
Bubba
roof.
Wallace in seventh, Larson in eighth, Daniel Hemrick in ninth. I actually did not know that, and then Noah Gragson in 10th. I did
Again,
not
one of
know
those good
Hemrick
cycles for Hemrick.
finished that high.
He luck of the draw.
You want to see quickest
Where I
bushers?
feel like how Zane Smith ended up in second.
Let's take a look at Chris Buescher's luck at the draw. I've got this video right here.
That's a great still. Now that's some race car driving right there, Bo. I'll tell you
Wow.
what. That's how you drive a race car. Through the
I
gap.
saw that and I was like, because when that wreck happened, I was like, well, it looks like me and Alan both got damaged. Maybe it'll be a toss up. And then nope, he keeps going. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? And then I saw that and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, because John Hunter Rekachek about cleaned him out from the left side, and he about got cleaned out by Ty Gibbs on the right side. I was like, oh yeah.
And who else was in that? I think Gragson was in that wreck with the overstock car and almost got him too.
Barry was in the overstock
Or that
car.
was Barry.
Braxton was in the back.
Oh, Barry.
And Daniel Hemrick was in that wreck too, so I don't even know how he got a top 10. He must have just said, F it, we're staying out. I don't care if it's damage,
So,
all right.
Well, that's
Jeff Luck pull.
Wow, what a race.
72%.
72.
That's not bad.
That's low.
That's
I think
about right.
everybody's still got I feel like there's mixed feelings on the overtimes because if you're like us, we loved it because of just like the anticipation that it
Excitement.
created, the excitement it created, the storylines it created, the what could have been a Cinderella story for some of these guys like Zane Smith. I mean, it would have been out of nowhere. Nobody would have given him credit for it, but getting a win at Nashville as his first win. I mean, so there's
Trackhouse's home track.
Trackhouse's home track. There would have been a lot of storylines that could have came from this race and that were developing. So, but on the flip side of that, it was a crapshoot at the same time. There wasn't
It was a
much to
fun
do.
crapshoot.
There was
I
there was
was
a lot of
saved by
just
that.
dead space time and are they going to run out of fuel? Are they not? But as somebody that just loves the sport as a whole, it's fun to have those every once in a while. Because when's the last race that we had an actual crapshoot like that? There has
2 years
not
ago.
been one in
2 years ago.
2024. Or
Mm-mm.
yeah, I would say Daytona 2022. That would be the last race that I would say, the summer race, where they had the rain delay.
Oh, where the rain.
The rain
Well,
delay, because
and then
you were
they.
at the house with me, Daniel, when we watched that race. And Austin Dillon skated through and won that race.
Well, it wasn't even the rain delay. It was raining, and they didn't call a caution and
Yeah.
cleaned out the whole field. And there was
Yeah.
only like 8 cars racing.
Yeah, so that was the last crapshoot, and that was amazing. It was great. As us as fans, before we even started the podcast, we had a great time because what did we do during the rain delay? We played NASCAR, and then we came back and watched the end of the race and
We
freaking
played
enjoyed it.
NASCAR Thunder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you got the PS2 hooked up, buddy, we go old school when we get the chance. But I mean, those crapshoots are so nice to break up the monotony every once in a while. And the good thing that came from it, the one good thing I can say that came from this crapshoot is the fact that we didn't have a winner that would do nothing in the playoffs. We have a 2-time champion that just won this race, that has won an all-star race, that is with Ford and with a team that is building steam right now, that has won 4 races since the all-star break. Now, including the all-star race.
Including the all-star break.
So,
well, I
you
mean,
got
Ford's
the
won
all-star
what?
race,
5
Iowa,
of the last 7
worldwide. Yeah. So, a driver that's on the uptick. I would have probably been a little more upset if Zane Smith would have won this race. Not to discount Zane and his chance of getting this win and the marvelous opportunity for him, but at the same
but let's
point,
be honest. Kaz Gralla hasn't ran all the races, and he's behind Kaz Gralla in points.
Yeah. So we have to take that into account of like what would it be worth when it comes to Atlanta in September. Having Joey Logano at Atlanta in September in the top 16 in the playoffs, that's way better than having a Zane Smith in the top 16. Granted, that's why the win and end is there.
I mean, that would have done numbers for that team.
I mean, it would have been great for them, but for
that's that Cinderella story because I mean, he could win it. He could win there at Atlanta, you know. But you know, Ford went very quickly from found on road dead to first on race day, and I think that raises concern for all the other organizations. That's what to me it almost seems like
they found something.
And Hendrick might have fell off a tick. Joe Gibbs seems to be pretty decent with the way Bell's running right now. But that's just the ebbs and flows of the season. You know, that's 36 races. They're not going to be perfect year round. But I will say what Christopher Bell's doing right now is the most impressive to me because you think about last year, what he won Bristol Dirt. Yeah. And that's the only race he won until the playoffs. And then came alive in the playoffs and ended up at Phoenix. And he's done that 2 years in a row. But now if he makes it to Phoenix, it's not a surprise to me. You know?
Yeah. And the thing about that is Bell honestly is a really good championship pick, especially if you're a betting person, because Phoenix, he is phenomenal at the flat ovals.
Well, that's what he's won in all of them except for Gateway. And he could have won there if his motor didn't blow up.
So he should have won there if his motor didn't blow up.
Yeah. That's what him and Blaney are the two best on those types of racetracks right now.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
That's what I'm starting to regret my Byron pick for early season championships.
I mean, Byron does have a win at Phoenix, though. I will say if Hamlin can put together a race and a postseason, I still think that I'm in good shape. And Emily, Reddick is pretty good at your short track or at your mile and a halfs, your speedways,
Same.
and your
This squad, he's doing decent this season. Like,
yeah, I mean
he
in
just
fourth in points.
he feels inconsistent, but he's fourth in points.
I was gonna say he
that's
feels
hard to.
inconsistent, but I don't feel like he actually is. He's also
He's silently actually having a great year.
he's 6th in playoff points.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he
in the
has
regular season,
7
he's the
top
fourth.
10s, 1
Exactly.
win, and 3 stage wins. But those 7 top 10s account for a lot.
What also kind of makes this interesting, I guess I just never actually thought about
that was
this.
7 top
All
5s.
3 of us, all 3 of our early season picks or championship picks are already in the playoffs as well. I
Okay,
don't know
good.
why I did not think about that for this moment, but
We talked about it after whose pick won last. I think because
I think it may have been
yours is Hamlin, isn't it,
right.
Alan?
I picked Hamlin was the last
Yeah.
one to win.
Oh
out of
yeah,
the 3
because
of us.
Reddick won at Dega. Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
talked about it at Dega when Reddick won.
So,
Mhm.
I will say I really at this point in the season, and again, there's ebbs and flows to a season. We see it with Byron right now. We talked about that at the early season too, like after Bristol of is he gonna have that summer slump? And I think we may be starting to see that. He lost 3 spots in the in the regular season standings this week due to his finish. And the guys above him where they finished. So we got to keep that in mind of like there's ebbs and flows to a season. And in all honesty, the best ebb and flow that you can have in a season is when you're just quiet and consistent. So look at your Ty Gibbs. He's been floating around 10th in the regular season standings since Richmond. Look at like your Reddick pick. He's been floating 7 to 4, 7 to 3rd, 7th to 3rd since Richmond, since in the past like 6 weeks. He's in that zone. Hamlin, he's been floating in the top 4, top 5 in that zone. So having, and I mean, no knock against Byron. He's just, I think he's the outlier of the 3 currently. But also that's something that we suspected because then he does get hot at the end of the season.
I mean, never in the summer. I mean, he hadn't had a good summer. He always comes out of the gate swinging and then just
But
Swamps
also,
and then comes back.
who in Hendrick actually does have a good summer? Larson has an okay one, but Larson is putting himself in more and more predicaments that make me think that he's too much of a wild card to have a chance at a championship, that he'll wreck himself out of a championship at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at Elliott. He's what? How many weeks in are we? 20. He still hasn't finished outside the top 20. All his finishes have been top 20s. He hadn't not had a finish that was top 20.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're gonna talk about silently consistent, and he's winning races and being in the front and qualifying well.
Yeah. So, but
And it's hard to say. You can't see Larson and Elliott not being championship favorites right now when they're first and second in the points by a good bit.
yeah, but at the same point, who won the regular
Because
season championship last year?
points up. Larson's 20 points up on Elliott, and Elliott's 23 points up on Hamlin. So
Yeah, but
I mean,
who won the
they
regular
built a
season
pretty good
championship last
cushion.
year?
Truex, but Truex has folded in the playoffs in the next gen era both seasons, so that was inevitable.
But look at 2022 Elliott. He did the same thing. He finished dead last at Darlington, and then he finished.
Yeah, but he made it to Phoenix and had a chance until he got Chastained.
Well, the only
He
reason
was
he
in the
made it to
top
Phoenix
3
is
all
because he
day.
won Talladega in the fall.
Yeah, but his regular season championship carried him through the playoffs.
Yeah, but you got to build enough of a cushion with that regular season championship. Elliott did it that season with 5 wins or 4 wins outside of the playoffs.
Larson's been kind of wildly inconsistent, but besides before Bells went on this heater the past couple weeks, Larson had the most stage points by a mile.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Emily,
He
how
had
many
the
points is Bell back from Larson in the regular season standings? Because my
88,
question is, he's 88? Oh,
88
wow.
points.
You're to the point on that,
He's
dang.
good with facts right now.
I have it. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, I don't think he can catch him. What's
No,
the top three, top four spread?
Larson has 664. Elliott is 20 points behind. Hamlin's 43 points behind. Reddick's 53 points behind. Truex 73. Bell 88. Byron 94. Blaney 104. So they're,
Okay,
I think
so
maybe Reddick and Hamlin could catch him.
Reddick's a long shot. Hamlin is a possibility. Elliott's going to have to win 1 to 2 more races. So to have a chance, or have like
Yeah,
set
because I mean
runner-up
he's
finish,
only
podium finishes like 3-4 weeks in a row.
because he's only 20 points back. You know.
Yeah.
But the difference between Larson and Elliott is Larson has Chase Elliott's not always in the top 10 in the first two stages, but seems to find himself there towards the end of the race, you know? So
Yeah,
he's not collecting stage
get
points
that
and
together
stage
early.
wins like Kyle Larson is. So
Yeah.
if Chase Elliott and the 9 team can start collecting some stage wins and getting a good bit of stage points, Larson has competition.
Yeah. Oh, we just got to see if that happens. We only got 7 weeks left in the season. So, but with 7 weeks, let's go ahead and start wrapping this down. Let's talk about the bubble for a minute, and then we'll go into our picks, some previews of Chicago, and call it a night, guys. So,
say,
our
I'm tired.
bubble drivers, you got Gibbs at plus 70, Busher at plus 56, Chastain at plus 66, Bowman at plus 51. So that is the playoffs with Suarez and Cindric in, because Suarez and Cindric are outside of the top 16 right now. And Busher is over Chastain because he has 2 playoff points to Chastain's 1 playoff point. But from there, on the bubble, on the bad side of the bubble, you got Wallace at minus 51, Briscoe at minus 78, Busch at minus 104, and Berry at minus 131. What do we think of how this sits right now?
I think everybody below the cutoff needs to win. And I think Busher, if he wants to make it, needs to win. Or Bowman's on the cut, actually. My bad. Yeah.
Bowman's on the cut by 5 points to Busher.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think Busher and Bowman probably need to win. And
Yeah,
Chastain.
I think
Ty Gibbs is safe.
that is crazy because you said Chastain was safe last week at plus 70. Or
Well,
2 weeks ago. Sorry, 2
now,
weeks ago.
just
The
the way
last time we
the
recorded.
problem now is where has Ross, besides Sunday, where's Ross Chastain been though? You know what I mean? And
I mean, he's been consistent
the way
enough to run top 16.
the way the Fords have turned on, look at those 2 SHR cars creeping in there. You know what I mean? The way
Yeah, the fact that
because to
Berry is
see one of
broken the
those
top 20
two
now.
Yeah, to see one of those two rattle off a win would not surprise me right now.
Yeah, and the fact that
Because
Briscoe
I
is
mean, just think if Wallace, Briscoe, Bush, or Berry win right now, that only puts Chastain up 15. That's not safe.
yeah, that's I know Logano definitely shaked it up a bit.
I thought he was safe, but with Logano winning, that's shooken it up.
That throws a wild.
The Fords have just turned on here recently. So I mean, which makes me think Busher's probably okay with the way he's been running and the Fords have been going. And I mean, had Logano not won, where Berry and Briscoe sit at the cut line, look a lot closer than it looks right now.
Right.
Because that would still have Wallace right there, and that's only where Briscoe would only be out 20 points and Berry'd only be out 70 points, you know?
Yeah.
A lot closer than it looks. The problem with where Wallace is now, I mean, I think Bowman's consistent enough to maintain 55 points. But if someone behind that wins, that's where he's at the problem.
Do you
Yeah.
think? Because so far, speaking of wins, so far we have 11 different winners. Do
hmm
you think that there's a possibility we could get to 16?
No. I mean,
It's
yes, but
possible.
no.
Okay, if we don't get to 16,
We might
how
have
many do you think we'll have?
maybe 2 at the most.
I think that we're going to be racing for 2-point spots come Darlington on Labor Day weekend.
So you think 3 more are going to get a win?
I think we're going to have 3 more winners. And I say that because of the tracks that we have coming up. We have a street course. There is
Which
a good
everyone's
chance.
still pretty unfamiliar with.
There's a good chance Justin Haley could win this weekend. Rick Ware has brought him great cars, and he finished second or third, and was racing SVG for position at the end of that race. You have
Yeah,
Pocono.
that was a strategy call.
You have Pocono, where Toyotas are fast. You got Gibbs that still hasn't had a win. Hamlin's probably your favorite there because that is his best track. But also, Busch is very good at Pocono. You have Indy, which is a toss-up. You have Richmond, which is probably going to be another Toyota. Martin Truex Jr. doesn't have a win yet this season. You got Michigan, which Buescher could win there. A Ford could win there easily. Daytona, a complete fuel mileage. We'll see what happens. And then Darlington, we've seen some guys that run well at Darlington come out of nowhere. Chastain.
Eric Jones.
Eric Jones is great at Darlington. Chastain's great at Darlington. Bowman, go back to Richmond. Bowman can win Richmond. I mean, there's a Barry could win Richmond. So that's where my question is of like, I think we'll only have 2 to 3 more winners, but I could see it to where we have that 16 to 17. It could happen. If it's going to happen, it's not likely. I wouldn't put money on it. I wouldn't play a parlay with that, but it is a possibility for sure because of what we've seen in the past where these guys, because the thing is these guys, they perform well at a track. They consistently perform that well there. It's not just like a one and done. These guys are good at where they go and where they're good at. I mean, you just look at Barry at Richmond. Look at Barry at short tracks in general. Look at Buescher when it comes to those 2 mile and a half plus tracks. Look at your super speedway guys. Super speedways now, if you can get to the front and control the race and have enough fuel to get that track position, you could win the race or just be in the top 5 because your guy in the lead is probably going to wreck out. So I say we end the season as a whole, including playoffs, with over 16 winners. I say going into the playoffs, we have 14. What do you think, Emily?
No, I could see it.
So,
I don't think we're gonna hit 16. There's the potential there, in all honesty, but I don't think we are. So
okay.
I think 12 to 14. Because like you said, the tracks that we have coming up, you have people who are consistent at those specific tracks.
Yeah, you have a lot of kind of question marks in the air, you know?
I feel like that's been a theme this season.
The question marks.
Well, yeah, here and there. It's not. We've just consistently had either curveballs thrown at us or just straight up question marks of like, we don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah, the biggest curveball we've had recently is it looked like it was Hendrick and Joe Gibbs' season to run away with. And I mean, they still haven't lost their grasp on it. But Ford has rose from the dead swinging. You know, they went from
Yeah, that
found
was weird.
found on road dead
Out
to
of
first on
nowhere.
race day real quick. So, but let's get our points pick and let's sign off.
You
Alan,
wanna do
you want
points
to take
pick.
this away?
I will take this away as I did get the win last week. Real quick to put our standings in place. Oh, sorry. Put our standings in place. Daniel is leading us with 10 points total for the season. Followed by Emily with 8. With that said, Emily does have the most double point days with 2, having 2 wins with her picks. And then I am rounding out the
Almost
rear of the
3.
field, now up to 6
and
points.
Yet still has the worst average finish.
I know.
Yeah,
My
something like
average
that.
finish went up last week just to drop back down this week. So
Yeah, Emily, what's our average finishes? Go ahead and give
I
those
don't want to
to
talk
us.
about them. I was actually talking to Alan about this weekend. As I was like, every single time I will pick a good, consistent driver, and then the week I need them to do good, they crap out on me.
Yeah.
I think you have the
Yeah.
most 30th place finishes.
Yeah, because they'll
1,
be
2, 3.
up front, they'll be running great, and then next thing you know, they're in the back of the field
Yeah, it's
or
pretty
they're
rough.
DNF'd. I was
So
telling Alan, I was like, they can be
Alan
very
has
consistent before and after I pick them, but the week I pick them, that's when they're like, how do I race again?
me and Alan both have 4 finishes of 30th or worse, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 finishes of 30th or worse.
Hey, but I'm still beating Alan. So there shows that I'm doing
Not in the
something.
average finish.
Oh, that doesn't matter. We're talking points wise. We're not looking at averages
If it
finished.
comes down to a tie when we divvy out our playoff points, it does matter.
Hey,
that is true. So, well, with that
Alan
said,
went 6 weeks without a win. I think
hey,
he can go 6 more.
but I'm back. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I went 9 weeks without a win, actually. And then I've won 3 of the
My bad.
past 6.
I love
So
he gave you more credit.
it is comeback season, baby. And we're going to start off right as we go into Chicago Street Course. And we're going to use the road course ringer of the non-next gen era. So it doesn't make sense why I'm using them, but we're going to do it anyways. And we were going to go Mr. Chase Elliott as my pick for the Chicago Street Course. Finished 3rd place last year in 2022. So let's see what he can do in 2023. It's 2024 this year. But yeah. So I'm gonna go Chase Elliott as my pick. On to Daniel, as you did not wreck out of the race. Shade tree.
All right. I think I'm gonna kind of throw crap against the wall and see if it sticks.
Again, every time you do that, you somehow
Last time you
win.
did that, you won with Cindric. So hold up now. Let's
I
talk
don't think
about
it's.
this.
I don't think
Let's
it's.
talk about this,
I don't
dude.
think it's gonna
Put it
happen.
down. Put it down.
All right. So hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
He has been qualifying really well at road courses, and he finally rose. He was semi-relevant this week and seemed like he had a car could kind of win with people running out of gas until he got caught up in a wreck. LaJoy.
Oh boy.
You did say that.
Dude, why would you not pick
This weekend.
Haley over LaJoy?
Haley only finished 2nd on a strategy call.
Yeah, but he could still he was still putting up a fight against him, and he's got better, I would say, better equipment.
SVG took him to school.
Hey,
I feel
SVG
like
took
SVG
everybody to
took
school,
everyone to school.
not just
Like-
Justin
What's
Haley.
funny is last season when Alan won with SVG, it was actually me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Let me
Because
tell you.
Alan was like, I've lost every week for X amount of weeks, and I'm tired of trying to beat Daniel on pick. So which one would you pick? And I picked SVG because I liked his name more. I knew nothing about him.
And I went on a 10-week tear. Could still lose the regular season, but I went on the tear. It was great. It was wonderful. Beautiful. It was wonderful.
All
So,
right. With that being said, with the second pick in the NBA draft, I select Michael McDowell.
solid. Surprise, but solid.
Surprise.
I'm surprised.
I didn't think you were gonna go McDowell looking at your picks, but solid pick.
Where else am I going to use him? Daytona? That's where I'm going to use LaJoy, probably.
So we're on to Emily, last but not least.
I'm overpicking. Did we ever agree on if SVG was an eligible pick?
It's not in the rules. Daniel lied. So just as a recap, our rules is if your pick finished highest, you receive 1 point. If your pick wins the race, you receive 1 bonus point. Regular season championship gets 5 bonus points. There's no rule on who you can or cannot pick. So where it says eligible picks, that is just the chartered picks. But obviously you picked Johnson earlier in the season. And there's been some
And again,
fluidness. And
crapshoot with that one.
personally, it doesn't bother me, but I feel like Daniel's a little worried.
I'm still pretty solid. I think you
Daniel
have a
was
shot to
saying
win.
something because
I
he
don't
knew I was
care.
running for SVG. He started
Well,
saying it before
Alan,
we ever even recorded.
yeah, I was just messing with you guys. Alan can win. I don't care if Alan wins because I have a big enough cushion to Alan.
Oh, okay. So you're actually worried about me. Okay.
So you
Well,
don't
no,
care if
because I
I
think
make
we
a
could end
giant
up.
comeback like that?
I feel like we could end up in a tie and then you'd win because of your average finishes because everyone decides to just crap out
Yeah,
on me.
and I mean, I still got some pretty good picks left,
Oh,
So
I've had some that I'm saving.
I mean, you got Hamlin.
Mm-mm,
That's
She's
your
got
only good pick left.
well,
mm-mm.
I don't know. She's still got some options in there. They're interesting options, but they are options.
Hey, the end of the season is gonna be me throwing crap at the
Dude,
wall and seeing
I
what sticks.
want to screenshot this because I swear if she wins with what's on here, I'm gonna be just flabbergasted.
There's no
So, but
way.
who are
I
you
still have
going
Kyle
with, Emily?
Larson.
Yeah, and I won with Kyle Larson, so
One, did you win with Kyle Larson? No,
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 I
you
did
did
not.
not. I did.
I won and I got the bonus point for Larson because I picked him for Vegas.
I almost got
He
the bonus
finished
point with Larson.
34th when you picked him.
Yeah, I almost got the bonus point with Larson until he wrecked out
You understand
because he
my
was going to win the
pain.
race. So, but what are you thinking, Emily? Who you got?
I was gonna honestly go with SVG.
Is that your final answer?
The only other one that y'all talked about that kind of tickled my fancy was Barry, but no.
Not a road course.
Not a road
Save him
course.
for Richmond.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So,
listen a lot when y'all start talking about that. My competitive nature comes out and I start taking notes.
well, guys, looking forward to the street course. Are we excited to see hopefully a dry track this year? I'm
I'm
hoping
interested
to
to
just
see
see a
how it
dry
races
race.
in the dry.
Yeah. I
I'm
will
just
say
ready to see a race that's not rain delayed.
this is a really cool thing because the next gen does perform decently on road courses, so I am excited to see how it performs at Chicago, and it's a really cool just broadcast in general. They do it radio style, so you have guys set up in different turns, and
Mike
the
Bagley.
street, yeah, the street course aspect of it's just really really cool. So I'm excited for this weekend. The race is I think 4:30 on Sunday. You got Independence Day Thursday. So happy 4th of July to everybody in the States. And if you're not in the States, you're wrong. So otherwise, I'm just kidding. I know we have a lot of
Wow.
actual listeners that are outside of the US. Um, but it'll be Independence Day. So happy birthday, America. Any closing thoughts or remarks from anybody?
You look like the 4th of July.
So, well, with that, guys, I hope
Did
that
no
y'all
one
have a
get that
great
reference?
weekend. I didn't get that
No
reference.
one.
Daniel, did you get that? All right. We
I'm
missed it.
deeply offended.
So, well, make sure you follow us on our social medias again at TikTok and Instagram at Gas is on the Right Podcast, X formerly as Twitter or whatever you want to call it at gas_right, and YouTube and all podcast streaming platforms at Gas is on the Right Podcast. And we will see you guys next week.